So this is my PSA video by me. So what is the issue? The issue is that there's a significant lack of culturally appropriate parenting programs for Indigenous families in Canada, which stems from a long history of colonial policies that disrupted Indigenous child-rearing practices. Most mainstream parenting programs in Canada are designed using Western frameworks that do not reflect Indigenous worldviews, kinship systems, or values. As a result, these programs often fail to support Indigenous parents in a way that feels respectful, relevant, or empowering. This problem is rooted in the legacy of residential schools, the 60s Scoop, which was when the Canadian government took Indigenous children from their families and placed them in non-Indigenous homes, causing cultural loss and lasting trauma, and other assimilation policies, which aim to erase Indigenous cultures and separate children from their families and communities. According to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, these policies led to intergenerational trauma, loss of parenting knowledge, and a breakdown in traditional support systems. So what is our call to action? We call upon the federal, provincial, territorial, and Aboriginal governments to develop culturally appropriate parenting programs for Aboriginal families. So you might ask, how is it going so far? At the federal level, Indigenous Services Canada has expanded funding for prevention-based services through the First Nation Child and Family Services program. Since April 2022, this funding has allowed First Nation communities to develop parenting support programs that are community-driven and culturally relevant. These programs often include traditional parenting teachings, ceremonies, and the involvement of elders and knowledge keepers. Also, the Public Health Agency of Canada also supports programs like the Aboriginal Head Start in urban and northern communities, which help young Indigenous children and their families by providing culturally based early childhood education and parenting support. But there is a problem. Organizations like Indigenous Watchdog track progress on TRC Call to Action number 5 and have found that while a few initiatives are in place, Canada has not yet fully implemented this call to action. Indigenous leaders and researchers continue to push for greater involvement of Indigenous communities in the design and delivery of these programs, and for permanent, sustainable funding rather than temporary pilot projects. So, what should the government do, you might ask? The government should, first of all, provide long-term sustainable funding for culturally appropriate parenting programs rather than short-term or one-time grants. This would allow communities to build programs that grow and evolve over time, rather than being forced to shut down due to lack of resources from the government. Secondly, the government needs to recognize and support the role of elders, knowledge keepers, and traditional parenting methods in these programs. Elders can guide families in reconnecting with cultural teachings, ceremonies, and storytelling that promote strong family bonds and child development. And thirdly, this is really important, to train non-Indigenous service providers on cultural safety and trauma-informed care, so that they can support Indigenous families without causing harm or reinforcing stereotypes. In conclusion, culturally appropriate parenting programs are key to healing and supporting Indigenous families. While some progress has been made, there's still a long way to go. Governments must act, and we must stand with Indigenous communities to make sure that these programs are learned by them and for them. Real change starts with action, and we need to take it. Thank you.